Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media, where we're throwing truth bombs all over the internet. And the latest truth bombs went into the Q court. Was watching Lionel this morning, and he did a great job. I think I see him as kind of like the sports announcer, where he comes out and the bells ring, and he says, "Okay, over here in the right corner over here, we have Jerome Corsi, author of 25 books, leader of the conspiracy thoughts for InfoWars, and translator of the current Q." Of course, not the original Q. And then over here in this corner, we have Thomas Paine, former NSA, Jesuit, author himself of 13 books, and in direct contact with the original Q because he and Betsy figured out the test, passed it, and got into the doors. Thomas, are you going to be throwing any more truth bombs out today?
All I can say is the cappuccino machine is not working, and this early in the morning, Betsy. Come on, these wars have woken me up repeatedly. Now, what I'm going to say, because yes, it's one person goes out there, even when it's a tag team, and they're out there in the ring by themselves. But there's no war between Jerome Corsi and I. That's imaginary. I red-pilled him because I was red-pilled. What can I say? I had already given my opinion about Q and had already pointed all these things out. Why didn't the war start then? Why didn't everybody react then? I don't know much about Q. I looked at it. I knew what it was in the beginning. I was able to read it. Sometime in October and all the way through then November, there was a war going on. Anyone could have seen that. As Dr. Jerome Corsi or anyone else, SGT or anybody else, please address that question if you think that we are so crazy or that in any way that we are wrong or misrepresenting or lying. I would rather...
It was a cyber warfare. They took over those networks.
Well, it was... Jerome Corsi quotes some numbers. We have the people... We can't print this for you, but let me tell you what we have. The first contact with Q was the person who owned those sites, who created them, had all the statistics, gave it to us, we ran it through, it was true. This is the person who hosted it. That is not the person we call the Q Collective, the original Q, and that is not who took over after the war in October and November. Now today, Betsy's posting just a beginning of Q responding, saying, no, here's the proof. Look here. Plus, remember, the Q Collective is now going to lead you somewhere. Pay attention. We didn't pay attention. When we did, we answered the riddle. We got through the door. But they had already watched us. And so if you look at the Q Collective's the original Q, we say there's Q1, Q2, Q garbage, which
is Q3. All the other Qs.
All the other Qs, but Q2, Q squared, Q cubed, Q whatever. You know how many Qs have contacted us?
Let's not talk about those. Let's just talk about the original and the ones that took over.
You were contacted by so many Qs. I was so tired of bringing in the geniuses to look at the secure communications from these people to say that they're Q and look at it and go, whoa, these were the originators of the site. These people are telling the truth, but they have nothing to say now, except that they were taken over. But anybody can see they were taken over. Look at the argument that happened. Look at the style that changed. Look how the numerology and the cryptology dropped out. They tried to replicate it, do the math. It's all incorrect. These are, I can say who they are. I'm not going there. I'm not at war with Q. I believe what Lionel said recently about this. He said, this isn't really about picking sides. This is about getting to the truth. And I'm open to the truth. Jerome Corsi has been in contact with you so many times that I finally said, I'm not going to come look at any more contacts from any of these people out there.
Oh, yeah,
until they call me on the phone and I know that, who they are. But I love Jerome Corsi. I said that in the first thing.
I'm just saying that they do. We give them our phone number and whatever, and then it's just silence. They let their readers think that their viewers think that they're going to be in touch with you to discuss this topic, but they never come through.
I don't mind giving out my phone number for a variety of reasons. I have nothing to hide. You should be able to cross with the glass bead game over the bridge and know exactly who I am. And when you do, then you'll say, well, wait a second. Why is this spiritual person doing this political stuff? Because I was asked to. That's what people do. So I used my insight. to teach people how to recognize a false flag, to teach. We're teaching the base core skills that you weren't taught in school. We're reteaching you history. We're showing you who the bad people are. And now that Betsy joined together with so many people, but particularly Americans for Innovation and their timeline, and she has now added so much to the timeline. It's now thousands of pages long. And every day things are added. And every day that amazing group of 250 people, also a collective, can't be stopped, give Betsy so much material that literally the Conclave cannot read it. Most of them have given up trying to keep up with Betsy.
What does Q give? Every few days he goes boom, boom, boom. I mean, really, people? That means something to you compared to knowing what who all these SES members are and how they are unconstitutionally acting in this country?
If you want an intelligence dump, look at Betsy's new way of presenting the raw data that is coming up. By the way, it's infinite. If you have a question you want solved, ask us. We'll ask what I'm calling the Q Collective, and later we're going to tell you what their new project is. We will never tell you who they are because the government would kill these people, just like I've now put my life on the line to create what people are calling a war in the alt-right. I'm doing that because of the following. The deep state was revealed through the SES. It continues to be revealed every day, especially by some of these wonderful people who are sending in stuff, and we're going to do an audio on that in just a minute, to thank those people. Because Betsy, we now have critical mass. Whatever you want, folks. Q Collective didn't intend to break any rules, to use any whistleblower, to use any hacking, to do anything illegal. This is the truth standing against war. These are warlords we're fighting. If you don't understand, go back, read our intelligence reports. We are fighting a war. Maybe you think it's an entertaining riddle game. I'm sorry to red pill you. Now, let's go on. Jerome Corsi, love the guy. The other day, Jason Goodman interviewed him. And in an interview where they talked about killing the deep state, he only mentioned SES for, I don't know, maybe a minute. And he didn't mention any of our research, none of the tools that are now available for you to name these people. By the way, Andrew what's his name? Weissman, Andrew Weissman, who's Mueller's bulldog, who broke into President-elect Trump's records that from the transition team and stole them illegally. He broke into Paul Manafort's house with guns drawn to steal his lawyer papers that he had with WilmerHale because they didn't know the exact. They've been chasing Manafort since 2004, and they really got mad when he made $17 million putting an enemy of theirs into the presidency in Ukraine twice. That's why they went after Manafort. Nothing we have said except the following. Okay, I made a mistake. How many times have I had to do this?
Thomas, just name the mistake and move on.
Thank you very much. Craig Murray didn't die. I'm sorry. The guy who first interviewed him that broke it, that Craig Murray denied he was the contact to receive the data. He said, yes, he didn't receive a jump drive. Correct. He said he received it, a memory device. He said this twice on mainstream media, or that reached mainstream media. He had 3 interviews, and the first interview was with the guy who said it from his deathbed because he had to tell the truth about the fact that it wasn't Seth Rich who actually gave the first breach. So, sorry, Jason Goodman, thank you. You corrected me. I think this is the 4th or 5th tiny correction.
Okay, but you know what?
Craig Murray is still alive. I'm sorry, Craig, for putting you in the grave. I apologize. I was thinking, I saw the guy in the bed dying, and I said your name.
Look, let's get to the point. The point is, we've had all these amazing citizen intelligence reports. We have a crime line. We have research tools. We can take these folks down. But when you're over there with this psyop Q, what are you doing? You're looking at 4 lines of poorly written script, and you're spending hours trying to figure out what it means. Why don't you spend that good time, patriots, and let's take down the enemy of the state?
Or do what we did. We did a statistical, basically cryptological analysis of what we saw. I've read every single word. I've seen every single dump. And I consider the ones after the end of November to be dumps. Dumps of disinformation that is all illegal. Because remember, Dr. Corsi, answer this question if you're really getting engaged in this. But I would feel honored to think that Dr. Corsi even listened to a word that I had to say.
Oh, come on, get over that. He's a big... come on.
The man...
All right, fine, but he's not taking his audience to solutions. It's just the typical InfoWars spin. Put you in the spin cycle, around and around and around you go, and you think you're going somewhere, but you're never getting out of their spin.
It's an echo chamber hall of mirrors.
Okay, but...
And unfortunately, he is attempting, in a very honest way, as well as SGT and many others, hundreds of others, to interpret this. But here's the deal.
But they never go to solutions.
We gave you the key. I'll give it again. Count the spaces. It's a game. At first it was a riddle. Now they turned the riddle into simply ranting and raving crazy stuff off the top of their head, which is a lie about Trump. Now, Dr. Corsi, if you are engaged in this war, which I don't really believe you are, because I believe you're a straight guy. I haven't asked the Q Collective about you. Okay? So I don't know about you, except to see, I've always looked at your stuff, thought it was great. And I don't think I've ever really totally disagreed with you. I wish the other day when Jason Goodman was interviewing you, and you kept holding up the book, Killing the Deep State, I wish you would have said, we have to kill the SES because here's the legal way to do it with the Holman Clause. Pay them $1, they'll all leave. And you'll see that they don't do anything except obstruct the federal government. They're all corporatists. We know this now by every name that comes out. As you look at it, if you follow their history, people are doing this every day. You are now posting what I would call the most wanted posters. These are people, we look up their SES, we find out their biography, we show you that they've been placed in all these positions. They actually have almost no qualifications for what they're doing in many cases, and so on and so forth. And then you have people who are being paid by them who are actually the spin being directed by the Board of Broadcasting Governors. Now,
the Global Engagement Center.
Now, we're going to say, Dr. Corsi, why are you interpreting something that is a national security crime? The worst there is, actually, a felony. Supposedly, the Q that you are interpreting has sent pictures showing that they're standing next to the president and that they are connected to President Donald Trump. They are not. They are the opposite. They have never said anything actually positive that came true in terms of prophecies over a 3-week period. So anything that they predicted that didn't come to pass, they could still say did pass. So we gave it a 3-week period. Because anything we say, usually after 1 week or 1 day, explodes in the news. We told you Donald Trump was going to use his military budget to build, he's already building the fences. I told you. He doesn't need a wall. And what does he do? Less than 24 hours later, he says he's going to use the M to do it. He's going to use the military $700 billion and the other $712 billion, and that basically he's laughing because he did exactly what we said. He got emergency funds on an omnibus budget that is his discretion to spend or not spend line item. Do people not have any clue about how their government runs? He just scammed everybody. He got the don't get me started. Sorry, went out in the weeds. Anyway, Q is not saying this, is he? The current Q. Mr. Corsi. So, Mr. Corsi, why are you participating in a counterintelligence sting on the president, accusing him of leaking information to a person that is supposedly telling you stuff that is coming directly out of the White House? That would be illegal now, wouldn't it? Aren't there 5 agencies, including the Inspector General, who's now been given a lawyer to help him? His team, Horowitz's team of 500, was given a lawyer to help him from Jeff Sessions. One lawyer from DOJ. And they're looking for leaks. Would not Q be the leak? Did not Q say Q had Q clearance? By the way, the first Q does not have Q clearance. That isn't what they were saying. They were saying they were going to use old school NSA clearance, COC chatter, exactly what I said the first time I ever looked at it with John Barnwell. We spoke and I told you exactly what was going on. I made one mistake. I said it was probably in the Global Engagement Center. It was in a center very much like that, I'm now told. But anyway, they didn't need that. These people are so smart, they can see through open source material. They could hack anything they want. They're not mean, evil people. They're not the hackers. They understand all of that. Many of them are the geniuses that worked in NSA. The NSA calls the entire military. I went through this. for the highest IQ scores, and then they put them through the tests until they find out a certified IQ, and then they offer them one of two things. If you speak languages, which Q is one of the greatest linguists, the leader of the Q collective, the first Q, is one of the greatest linguists and is still used this day because he can speak practically any language without an accent. They offered me that when I went in the military. I didn't want that. I was told I was supposed to just speak English. So they offered me NSA. And of course they offered this person and many of the Q collective NSA. That's where these people come from. Of course, they were called to begin with. That's the reason the riddling was to call the very smart ones to join the resistance against the takeover of our United States government and to stop worldwide war, which we're going to go into on the tape that is going to address Armageddon.
I know you're still
now.
old school with that tape stuff.
I know, tape.
Okay.
I always say tape.
Stay focused. Come on.
I'm an old man. I may not be around long. Anyway, so, Joram Corsi, keep interpreting Q. I didn't say stop, and I'm not telling you who it is, but I now know. And I now know that what I'm saying is true, but I'm not saying the whole thing. So those of you who think I'm going to finger the original Q, you're silly. No, I won't do that. Do you think I'm going to finger who the current Q that Jerome Corsi, SGT, and many, many other people with a good heart are attempting to interpret?
Well, maybe they have a good heart and maybe they're all part of the psyop. I'm sorry, but when you are thinking about this landscape, you have to remember that plants were carefully placed many years ago to keep us corralled in these limited hangouts.
You want me to tell you? Okay, I can tell you this. And Betsy's and her entire team, everyone's protected from this but me. I'm the only person exposed to this. That's the reason I say, at this point, I will debate you, current Q. I'll send you questions, you send me questions. Here's the question for you, Jerome Corsi. Expose SES. Why didn't you answer the gauntlet being thrown down? You're the expert on this. Second question.
He gave about a 2.5 minute thing about SES and about they need to be relocated to Nome, Alaska. That was it. That's all I heard.
Correct. And Trump has already started relocating the EPA and many other agencies to where they're supposed to do their work to take them out of the swamp because they don't do any work there. That's what you do when you're a good manager and you come in and you clean house. I've come in to dozens of schools and cleaned house. He's doing exactly what I do.
Okay.
Same. That's the only reason I kind of have an idea about some of his strategies because I've done them. So, current Q, answer the question. If you don't think you're part of the alternative news, current Q, answer the question. Who's SES? You're SES. You want to know why I know? Because you're using predictive linguistic taken from the and this I didn't get from Q. This I know.
Can you not yell, please?
Because I did this in the NSA. I created some of these programs. Okay? Predictive linguistics in the alt-right ran through linguistic analysis programs, produces the ranting of Qannon. Also, that includes us because they're looking at what we say. But what they're looking at is for the outlier words. They're looking for the puzzle. Now, they made a huge mistake in the drop recently on Q2 because they went with somebody just trying to replicate that.
That's
and it
Q
was horrible.
squared, and you're confusing people.
Sorry,
I told you
Q
not
squared.
to talk about these other Qs.
Okay, in Q to the second power.
Right.
It is so pathetic they didn't even run it through the NSA Vault 7 predictive linguistics and linguistics analysis so that they could sound like the original Q mixed with the current top waves of the AltMedia. In other words, if you're reading predictions, then you're getting them from a machine language, what they would call an AI bot. And you can buy these, by the way. They can now answer your Facebook. You can buy one of these right now, and they can go back, look at all of your Facebook entries, which is open to everybody for $3.50. You can get your whole profile, everything you ever said, for about $5. And then you could do predictive analysis on it, and then you could do voter manipulation by sending not only ads, but you can actually target somebody through micro-targeting. And this is done every day with everything you do on the internet. Sorry, folks. Sorry to red pill you. Sorry, Jerome Corsi, to tell you that you need to ask Q. If you think you're talking to Q, because I'm talking to Q Collective. If you're talking to the current Q, ask the current Q to please straighten us all out on whether the SES is the deep state and how it came to be this way. Now, they're going to go, and I'm going to predict what they're going to answer. They're either going to give you a stupid answer written by a person, or they're going to give you predictive linguistics that literally are taking our battle on the internet right now. They're going to use those words, going to mix them up a little bit, or just blatantly come out and defend themselves. They will not answer what Betsy and her team just posted as a response from the original Q Collective, which proves beyond a shadow of a doubt who they are and leads you in the direction to get to where we got if you're that smart. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to just go ahead and say it. I'm smart. And I got a lot of smart friends.
You're
and guess
also
what?
a pain in the ass to the globalists.
I'm a pain in the ass to you too, Betsy, and your entire team and everybody.
I know you're going to
care.
say stuff, but I just want our listeners and viewers to know, all those you were saying you're unsubscribing, please do. Really, we're not talking to you. We have an audience. We know who that audience is. We started talking to them a while back. There are a couple of hundred.
When you are red-pilled, go back. It's the white rabbit. If you don't follow the white rabbit, you stay blue-pilled. Don't you get it? That's the clue that the whole thing was based upon. And when you see the answer of Q, it proves it. And if you can't figure that out, then you have been blue-pilled. Now, when you're blue-pilled and you're in the AltMedia and you think you're in an info war against a bunch of evil people, then you go to sleep and you parrot what the alt-right media says in general. You don't use discernment anymore. The red pill, the blue pill, what is that? Again, I hate terms like that. That means you are awakening. Your consciousness is awakening and your conscience is looking at evil and you feel wrath. That's why the people are attacking us. Now, those people who are jumping off, don't worry, you'll be back. I can't tell you how I know that, but you'll be back. And secondly, we don't care. If you're so stupid that you believe the mainstream media, you shouldn't be here anyway. Go into your la-la land and your sports and your entertainment and weather. As Lionel said, go read a report about the rat pulling the pizza. I'm sorry, going off in the weeds. So, we're trying to wake you up. We've been gently trying to wake you up for a long time, but here's the deal. Psyops works like this. They first give you real stuff. Real stuff. And you're so convinced that it takes you to your limit to test you proving that they're telling the truth. And then at some point you're going to reach your limit. And then you're going to say those people are telling the truth or they are not. And that's your limit. And that's the blue pill, red pill. Now, if you can go beyond that and wake up and just stop listening to other people's opinions and watching YouTubes entertain you, that's the reason I don't do images. Images are subliminal programming, no matter what they are. You're being programmed. That's the way movies work. That's why Hollywood's so powerful. That's why every presidential election is a Walt Disney Hollywood production. It is a popularity contest based upon the pathetic depredation that television has been led to. So if you're reading or watching mainstream media, that is from bankers who are controlling you. Reuters, which is now Reuters Thompson, was created by Rothschild. AP was created. So we are in an information war. Q is the perfect example of what happens in the alt media when you get too big of a group. They come in and they either close you down now or they take you over. And it's only now that we're at critical mass for silencing the people, giving them no privacy by surveilling them and taking away their freedom of speech. So I'm sorry, while freedom of speech goes on and before they snuff me and whoever else, but they can't snuff Betsy, they can snuff me and the Conclave, we will work through all these other avenues. These people, the original Q Collective, have many avenues. The avenues you're following, which I cannot name, Many of them are these people, and they're in a war against people who are being paid to be shills who look like they're AltMedia right. And that is what the psyops is. I can name the exact people. I can
know who
name
they are.
where the offices are. I can tell you they've taken over Silicon Valley. I can tell you they took over the Obama White House. We've named all of them. U.S. Digital Service leads you to them if you want to know who these people are. Valerie Jarrett's bunker leads you to them. We've said this so many times, and soon we're going to tell you what their intent is, and we're not going to cloak it in any riddles. And that's going to be called, or addressing, Armageddon Now. Yes, Lionel, it's like a war. Yes, Betsy, it's like a boxing match. The contenders are out in the ring. I threw down the gauntlet about SES to reveal, and I told everyone, go back, listen to the tape. I tricked all of you. I used perception management, and I manipulated the narrative to start with the end at the beginning. And I told you what the end would be, and the very people who fell for it are the ones who are either being red-pilled and they're good people, and it's fine that you're being awakened. You've been subliminally programmed. People become very angry. They become very upset, either when they are red-pilled and they find out the truth, or they arise at the truth themselves. If you've been listening to us, you have gone through moments of extreme wrath and anger because of the evil we've revealed. We always tell you the solution. Why didn't I address Q before? Except in one tape with John Barnwell, and I told you exactly what was going on, and I was right almost to the degree. Why? Because I told you it creates interest. It sparks mystery. When you whisper, people listen. When you say it's a conspiracy, they go dead. But when you are the conspiracy, everyone wants to be part of it. Jerome is the leader of the conspiracy theorists, who is the grandpapa of Alex Jones. You never hear me mention Alex Jones. I'm not going to call out people. I told you the truth. 75% of what they tell you is true. 25% is not. Ask them about SES. You will immediately see that 25% rise up to 100%. Now, I didn't say that, and I didn't give statistics. Say in the box below their video, why don't you address SES? If they don't, there's a good reason. That's all I'm saying. I'm not calling those people out. I'm not trying to end the alternative media. I'm not trying to draw people to us. As Betsy has told you, unbelievable amount of times, we don't care how many fake numbers show up on any of our sites. Those are fake numbers. If you don't know that, you don't know Google and you don't know Facebook. So we don't care. We're getting to the people, just like the original Q got to people who actually, we just posted something that's going to lead you to what the original Q was all about. And if you want to say, yeah, we know that, then you did not follow the lead. Now, I can't tell you all this stuff. I don't know this stuff. I'm being told this stuff. Now, I just want to brag.
Well, with extreme vetting, because we did.
Gosh, 3-hour conversation led me to 3 days of vetting, and at least I don't know how many people vetted what I was told in those first 3 hours, because I was told such shocking stuff.
You know what I can't wait for? I understand.
I was red-pilled.
I understand this guy. His name is Sean. He's a SGT report. He puts out stuff. Sometimes I post.
I love Sean
on Truth News headlines. But I have noticed he's kind of stuck in the Q spin, and apparently he and Jerome Corsi are going to sit down and have a little conversation on it. So that is going to be an interesting piece of entertainment to watch for sure. I'll post that one.
Bring us your statistics and your analysis of how many predictions of Q came true within 3 days, or any time that they came true. And what you will arise at is the statistic that tells you how much truth is being told. And if there's only cloaked references, don't use that. Anybody can do that. That's predictive analysis. They hear words, they throw it out. Oh, what about Victoria Nuland? Well, why don't you just read our expose on Victoria Nuland instead of,
right.
What about Victoria Nuland?
Boom,
Victoria
boom.
Nuland told John Kerry. Why has John Kerry's name not come up in the whole dossier? He was part of directing it from the Department of Justice. I mean, from the State Department. Good golly almighty. We expose all these people. Go plug their names in, and we'll give you the evidence. Now, going back, I got to finish this up, Betsy, please. This is a war, and I want people to understand. I am that bulldog that George Webb talked about. And George Webb, thank you for now agreeing with us about SES. Notice...
He also agrees that the SS-500 needs to be totally demolished. Yay,
Now,
you go, George. He's going to wipe them all out, so let's follow him.
He waffled so bad. He was for us for 3 broadcasts, against us in 1, saying we were totally wrong about the Council of 500, because that, if you get the Council of 500, you give them $1 a year with the Holman Clause, you basically collapse the SES instantaneously. But anyway, so he was against that. Then he said bad things about me, good things about me. Then he said the best things about me. Then he just raved about John Barnwell. Well, George Webb, I have now passed to you my telephone number. I predict you won't call me. And I predict that offer you made to interview me, you won't do.
No, because he's now made nice with you, and he has stated he supports you. But yet George never takes us further with the Awan brothers, and we always end at the dead end in Pakistan. And why isn't him? I'll just leave this out there, taking us to the real source of the.
Don't go too far, please.
I won't, but I'm just saying, people, you have to be thinking. They may take you so far, but why aren't they taking you the rest of the way?
And what we're saying is what we always say. And Bessie, this is what the whole tape is about. What we're doing is revealing truth. Sometimes that is the scariest and most horrible thing, and you retreat back into your shell and say, it can't be, it can't be. I already pigeonholed my version of that truth. So if the people, like a George Webb, who heard the truth, jumped on board, realized that he was going to expose his handlers, and then accidentally, because I took him to the threshold by throwing down the gauntlet, calling out his name, and now I'm calling out his name again. Call me, George. You now have my number. AS gave it to you. Don't play games. I have your number. I can call you. I'm doing this on purpose. Do you not understand? Whenever I take you to the threshold, I tell you what I'm doing, just like the Jedi did. Right? They tell you the thought they want you to have. So here's the thought. Call me, George. Now, George is going to go crazy over that. Watch what happens next. Now, Jerome Corsi will probably just ignore us because he's just going to keep plodding along beautifully, analyzing things in a very deep, sophisticated, scholarly way, trying to make sure he has backup, but he doesn't have any backup for his Q remarks. And he tries to find them in history because he's a great historian. He's been around. He knows what's going on. And he's been watching conspiracies longer than anybody, so he knows the fringe. So he knows the fringe words that come up by the analysis by the computer. Basically, we'll call this the Q-bot. The Q-bot produces the new ones, okay? And they go just so far, and then they plug in a little bit of dissent. You don't realize it, folks. You're blue-pilled. The dissent is that Trump is feeding Q. That's a lie. He's after that nonsense, and the reason he can't catch it is Q is not coming from the White House or anywhere near the White House, and it's not coming from someone with the Q clearance, and it's coming completely, but these people have, let us say, hacked into the content of what these evil people who are the psyops that take over sites and then turn what was a big phenomena into their phenomena. They have a plan, but that plan isn't coming from the SES. It's coming from, I'm sorry to have to say, it's coming from outside of the United States, and that's the reason we can't reveal it. If we reveal it, we get picked up immediately by the CIA because now we're talking about things that are too real and we can't say it. That's the reason the Q Collective stays anonymous, and you ain't getting in them, and you ain't getting in them through me. Trust that. So I am not going to name that, and I'm going to say to all of you who feel upset, take 3 days. Study SES. Study what I just told you about Q. Watch the new post we're going to give you directly from the Q Collective, which isn't from us. I don't know that stuff. We don't know that stuff. The Conclave doesn't know that stuff. And it is going to show you and prove to you and look at the dumps that are coming that should have proven to you that we, through Betsy and her group, are dumping more than Q ever dumped in its entire time.